Today on Locked On Red Wings, Detroit's comeback falls short as they cannot overcome some costly defensive mistakes.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And you can listen to us wherever you get your podcasts. Scotty, the Red Wings fall 4-3 in New Jersey in what was a frustrating game. Like, I, on one hand, I'm sitting here and I'm trying to think logically about the situation. They played, in particular, a great second and third period. The first period, I thought that New Jersey was the better team, but the second and third period, I thought the Red Wings were not just the better team, a dominant team on the ice. But I have some frustration, one, at the referees and the officiating for how that game ended so chippy, and then two, of course, at the defensive lapses, which, of course, we will get into. Before we can get to the main storylines, I do have to let the people know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Scotty, I kind of just tried my best at conveying my emotions at this game. And I'm trying to be very, you can probably tell, trying to be very measured with my words right now because there's a turmoil of emotions swirling inside of me after that 4-3 loss. Where do you sit on this game a good 20 minutes after it ended?
Yeah, I mean, kind of in a similar boat. There's a lot of thoughts and I think emotions. It's, as you mentioned, I think the Wings looked phenomenal in the second and third period. And there was obviously a lot of chippiness, a lot of, the blindside hit to Raymond, obviously there late. And then after the final buzzer sounds, you have all heck breaks loose there out on the ice. I think this would have been, this is such a dangerous mindset. This would have been such an awesome win. Like, this would have been like the coolest win ever if they were able to come back and finish the job. But alas, we're sitting here talking about a loss ultimately. It's a game where there's definitely a little bit more to, separating emotions maybe and the actual play, just because of all of the theatrics that kind of went on toward the end of the game. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, from a third-party perspective, if you weren't a fan of either team, this is peak hockey, okay? That was an absolutely electric 60 minutes of hockey that was on display, and I think the NHL is very happy that that there are games like that on ESPN Plus now.
Okay, I agree, but also I am not a neutral observer, so I am not.
No, I mean, I covered that before I got to that point. Yes,
I know what you. Of course. It's just when I'm thinking about storylines from this hockey game, what stood out. Like, there's two main storylines from this hockey game to take away. One was just the chippiness of it, and there's a lot of reasons that game kind of ended as chaotically as it did, and some of the blame does fall on the refs. Some of it blames on retaliation from the Devils that also didn't get called in my eyes. But I think I have to go with the thing that set the Red Wings behind the eight ball, and that is, and I don't like doing this because it is, these players are people, right? Like, you have to keep that in mind too, and it's never any one person's fault a team loses a game. But I think this is about as close as it can get to being one person's fault a team loses a game as it gets. In this performance, Travis Hamonic, who I praised multiple times these last few weeks as being a serviceable third pair defenseman, a step up from what we had last season, had a all-time bad performance in this game. The first goal, he opts out of a pass to his defensive partner, instead ices the puck, and then is skating away from the net inexplicably for no reason, leaving the net front wide open for the goal scorer, Timo Meier, to just have a nasty deflection home without any traffic in front. And then he gives the puck away behind the net. I swear to God, he either panicked or didn't see the player coming right at him. He tries to clear it, and I think it goes off the player straight to Connor Brown out front, who, I mean, Cam Talbot's still getting back to his net. He wasn't ready for it. They score, and at that point, made it from a 3-2 game to a 4-2 game. The Red Wings had already pulled back within one on a power play goal just minutes before that, and that turnover proved costly. And, he had mishandled the puck at the blue line that almost came back for a breakaway the other way. Travis Hamonic had, unfortunately, one of the toughest performances I've ever seen, and it cost the team pretty much at every single turn. And I can't imagine you sit here and I can't imagine how you sit here and not think that that's a storyline. You know what I mean? As a Red Wings fan.
Yeah, oh yeah. I think it's easily one of the biggest talking points that's going to come out of this game. And to be honest with you, to the extent where I would be surprised if we saw him dress in the following,
right?
The rest of the week, maybe even that's a performance that certainly burns in your memory. And it really, I mean, the turnover, the giveaway there was not great, but it was really the entire game. I mean, it felt like every shift that he had, there was something to kind of negatively, unfortunately, take away from. So, yeah, I think you're spot on, really. I don't think there's any denying that he is very unfortunately one of the biggest sore spots of this game.
I think you're spot on about this is the kind of performance that would get Travis Hamonic sat. And I think that's 100% correct. But unfortunately, I don't think that the options outside of Hamonic are really all that much better. JBD did play in this game because Edvinsson was still out sick, right? I thought we'd see Gustafsson with Edvinsson out. We did not. We saw both of Hamonic and JBD. JBD wasn't that much better either in the limited amount of ice time that he got. He only played 12 minutes in this game. Hamonic played 15. That's the two fewest amongst the defensemen, but look at how big of an impact those players had, in particular Hamonic, in those limited minutes, right? Playing sheltered deployments. It doesn't get much better. You can sit Hamonic, but at what cost? So very quickly here, we're back to the conversation of, holy cow, you need your two best defensemen healthy, or else you're in a heap of trouble real fast.
For sure. Well, and yeah, I mean, well, I'm sure we'll talk more about the other individual performances that stood out, obviously, but this was a game, especially as we mentioned, periods 2 and 3, where the Wings had possession and had opportunities constantly, but the opportunities they gave up, which again were admittedly few and far between, but the few opportunities they did give up were very high danger rushes, almost all of them, right? And that's partly a consequence of the aggressive forecheck and everything we talk about that they were playing, because they were playing from behind. But that is something that you would think that having more than just one capable defensive pairing would at least get fixed to a certain extent, or at least you would, maybe take a few of those opportunities away with some better defensive play on the back end. So yeah, certainly a big talking point in this game.
You're right that the Red Wings give up a lot of chances, but look at the chances that ended up actually costing them. Only one of those goals was a rush opportunity. 2 of those were deflections. And how many did we see the other night that were deflections that got past John Gibson?
Sure.
And we were hard on John Gibson in that hockey game because obviously there's a pattern of poor play from him to start the year, but it doesn't take away from the fact that those are unlucky deflections at the same time. And we even mentioned that on that show. And it's the same case here. The Red Wings have got to get harder in front of their own net, tying up those sticks and pushing those guys out and away from the eyes of the goaltender. And that's another thing where it's you need Simon Edvinsson to be healthy, because if you don't, you have guys like Travis Hamonic skating away from the play when a shot's being fired from the point. So it's just, again, it's never one person's fault that a team loses a game. And I'm sure if you asked anyone in that locker room, they would say it's a whole team effort. And it is. But that was an all-time rough performance by Travis Hamonic that did cost the Red Wings a lot in those moments. I mean, the Connor Brown goal was a turnover behind the net. That wasn't a rush opportunity. Hamonic was there first. So that was a storyline. We'll end it there. That's a storyline before we beat the dead horse. Hamonic has been serviceable most of the season. That was rough. That was real rough. We're going to head to our second segment, first break. When we return, we will talk about the other storyline I feel is coming out of this game, and that's the chippiness and chaotic ending. So stay tuned to segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making the late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Scotty, the other storyline from this hockey game is just how that game ended and got so chippy. This all started with the Comfer hit on Hischier to start the game. I want your opinion, Scotty. Do you think that hit on Hischier was dirty?
I don't think it was. I do not necessarily blame the Devils' retaliation. I feel like that's something where, like, if your role on the team is to, like, be an enforcer, retaliate, then like that's kind of the type of scenario in which you're gonna go out there and try to make something happen. But I don't think that it was inherently like I have ill intentions play, I guess, if that's what you're asking.
The hit, I don't think was dirty. If you watch the play on replay, obviously the result of the hit was awful, and it could have been so much worse. Thankfully, Hischier was okay.
For sure.
But the Comfer and Hischier were going to the boards, both going to play the puck. Comfer just goes shoulder to shoulder with him, but Hischier's not expecting it, and he's off balance, so he goes, unfortunately, face first into the half wall.
Yeah, like I said, I mean,
it was a hockey play.
Right. I understand the retaliation, especially if that's like your role in the lineup, like, whatever. The guys are chirping and getting fired up already. But like, I don't think that, I certainly don't think Comfer was like trying to
no, God, no.
make that happen. Yeah.
It wasn't like the boarding we saw from Rantanen the other day where he just leveled a player from behind. This was it was a hockey play, both players going to the boards. Comfer was trying to lay the body to win a puck battle, and Hischier was unfortunately off balance. And I have no issues with Nason challenging him. And I have mad respect for Comfer for immediately answering the bell, knowing this was going to come. Come out of the box, got a breakaway, didn't score, of course. And then having a fight was pretty electric, I will say. Comfer, not a most noted fighter in the world, but did get, I think, at least one square punch in there. But I have no problem with that fight. But to me, that's where it should have ended. What happened later in the game, in the third period, to me, and maybe I'm reading this wrong, right? I could be wrong. Maybe it was because of some of the scrums that happened after Larkin scored in at the halfway point of the third period. But to me, it felt like that was going after Raymond, our best player, because the Red Wings went after their captain, Nico Hischier. It went after, in air quotes there, because that was just straight up a dirty, dirty hit on Lucas Raymond, blindside hit when he's not expecting it at center ice.
To nothing.
That got no call. That's the most insane part.
The ref is right there. They're like, oh, he just didn't see it. He's staring at him. What do you mean he didn't see it?
Both refs and both linesmen had a perfect view at this at center ice, and nobody called it. And I tell you, when my blood was boiling, but I said, you know what? Usually this results in a makeup call. I was like, they're going to call him something ticky-tacky in a minute here. Never did. And so I think that was a big part of what led to the scrum at the end of the game. The Red Wings were pissed off.
sure.
They did a good cheap shot at your best player at center ice. Like, that's, to me, that was inexcusable by the referees to let that go. And when you let stuff like that go, it bubbles to the surface at the end of the game like that did. So I'm sorry, refs, you made your own job harder because you refused to hold the team taking a dirty hit accountable. It was we've talked about it. The refs have been pretty awful this season. It was the most blatant interference call I've ever seen. In fact, I think I called the interference that Edmondson had the game prior the most blatant interference player ever to see.
Certainly
this top
blows that out of the water. Yeah.
Right. It was a chaotic end, and you're right. You said it in segment 1. As a neutral observer, it probably was so much fun to watch, but the whole thing was avoidable if the refs just do their effing job and call the interference penalty on a blindside hit at center ice.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
Speaking of Lucas Raymond, he's pretty dang good.
Yeah, he had a great game, man. He this just felt like a game where he was kind of everywhere. And really, I mean,
Again,
you could say that for most of the top line. I thought Larkin played a really great game. Cat obviously scored, and then, I mean, had a wide open net. I mean, heck, we're talking about missed opportunities. Could have probably netted another one there later, but got the one off the rebound. Like, all three of them, I think, were fantastic. But Raymond was literally everywhere on the ice, seemingly all at once.
Yeah, this was absolutely the second game in a row where he has dominated the play. You look at the Larkin goal that made it 4-3 halfway through the third period. He gets the puck at the blue line, and I immediately thought, okay, he's going to pass this back off to the defender who's faded to the middle of the blue line, and then he's going to go back down the half wall. Instead, he shows really nice patience, outweights the forechecker, and makes a move around him to find space down the left side through the circle towards the net, takes a shot, gets blocked, then finds Larkin, who's battling out in the net front, to score the goal. It's the second game in a row where Lucas Raymond's forechecking and hand-eye coordination and hockey IQ result in the Red Wings scoring a goal. Sure. He's just like that. Remember a couple games ago, right? It was late against the Rangers, and he carries the puck, holds on to it until he finds an opportunity. Then the nice move against the Blue Jackets. It feels like he's found that extra gear that we knew was in him these last few games. He was incredible again, and you're right. The entire top line is just continued to dominate pretty much every single game. Dylan Larkin was nails in the face-off circle. I know it's your favorite stat. He went 15 wins, 5 losses, some of those against Luke Glendening, who's historically one of the best in the league at face-offs.
Luke Glendening. I remember what Nolan and I used to say, because he was still on the team when I first started. I think it was Luke Glendening Luke Glendening in the face-off circle where your team's face-offs go to die or something like that. Right. Yeah, he was the man. And yeah, Larkin, made it happen, man. A great game. I mean, as I said, from all three of them, really.
Mm-hmm. And Emmett Finney got a primary assist as well. He assisted on the James Van Riemsdyk goal. Yeah. It might have been the secondary assist. It could have ping-ponged its way to JVR, but he took the initial shot. Emmett Finney's going to find the back of the net here again shortly. Like, he's going to the dirty areas, and he's scoring goals there. And that's great to see. And that's another sign, too. Talking about Emmett Finney, obviously, 5 shots the game prior. Only credited with 2 in this game. Thought he had multiple opportunities. Thought he would have gotten way more shots by the end of that game. But you look at how all 3 of those goals were scored in this game, Scotty. All 3 going to the net for the rebound. Alex DeBrincat, Patrick Kane shoots a puck for what they call play off the pads. DeBrincat gets the rebound, buries it. JVR, what he's been doing his whole career, buries that puck over the pads of Markstrom on the rebound on the second power play unit. And then you look at Dylan Larkins, going to the net, going to the dirty areas, rebound, buries it. That's how this team's going to score goals, and it feels like it's finally getting through to them that very rarely, maybe only on the power play, are they going to be able to skill it up for an opportunity to score a goal. Getting those dirty areas and getting those rebounds, that's how they're going to thrive. They already dominate the shot attempts, the expected goals, but they got to get to the net if they want to bury those shots. And there's a lot to like from this game, and that to me was one of the main ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've kind of beaten that horse already with the top line, but I think that especially in the second and third period, again, you saw just kind of the aggressiveness of the forecheck, especially, and kind of just the pressure that was applied. They cycled really well, too. They kept the puck in the offensive zone for large periods of time in the second and third period as well. So, yeah, man. Like, I mean, this is really a game that, if you take out the emotion and the theatrics, you kind of just shrug your shoulders and you're like, man, like this obviously stings and sucks to lose it, but like the only thing you could have done differently was put the puck in the back of the net, which
right.
like you had your opportunities. And we were talking about, the biggest storylines going in or coming out of the game rather. I genuinely think the second period alone is the perfect encapsulation of the Red Wings season up to this point, where it's you utterly dominate and find yourself playing from behind because you don't have anyone that is consistently finding the back of the net, and the other team is taking advantage of the one or two opportunities they do have in on the on the returning breakaway. That's the phrase I'm looking for. So I really thought that the second period single-handedly, that those 20 minutes were kind of like just exactly how the Wings season has gone.
Microcosm, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Talbot in the first period, I mean, we can talk about that too, I guess. I thought he was a lot better, kind of goes without saying as the game went along. 3 goals in the first period, 2 goals in the first period?
It was 3, yeah. I don't even blame Talbot, though. That's the thing. Like,
well, 2 of them were redirects. 1 was pretty brutal, but
it was a tic-tac-toe odd man rush. Like, yeah, you could argue he should have made the save. I'm willing to give him a lot more benefit of the doubt than I am John Gibson right now, because with Talbot, he's been playing consistently good. But yeah, you're right. That second period is a little bit of a microcosm. Lots of opportunities, don't score, and then they get one odd man rush going back the other way. That wasn't even an odd man rush in the second period. That was the turnover by Hamonic. You get one defensive mistake the other way, and they score. Let's put it that way. Well, let's head to a quick break, Scotty, as you cough, and we will sneeze. Sorry. I have one more thing from this game I want to talk about. Stay tuned to segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. Hockey season is officially here, and nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games. But let's be real, getting tickets can be a total headache. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout, it's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives fans the advantage. It's the ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets, easy and stress-free. Which game should I talk about that I've gone to because of Game Time? You know what? I'm going to do Tigers this time. I have gone to Tigers games. My wife, Allison, love her to death, is a huge baseball fan, Tigers fan, diehard. And we went to several Tigers games this last year because of Game Time. They help us get seats in sections that are the best deal for that section because of their ability to click on the section, and it just shows you those best deals across that section. I'm saying section too much. And then there is the ability to get the price up front when you click on a seat. No surprise fees at checkout. The fees are included in the price when you click on it. So check out Game Time to get great deals on tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying NHL tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Scotty, I want to give a shout out because a lot of times this stuff goes unnoticed, especially in games you lose. I thought the fourth line was incredible in this game. They generated a ton of opportunities, and in the third period alone, they had one moment where I thought for sure they were going to tie it up. I think it was Kopp with a point-blank shot, and then JBD from the point came in. It was right after the Wings brought it within 4-3. They were battling down low, and they had lots of opportunities, but just could not score, as is the theme with the secondary scoring this season. But I thought the fourth line had a really good game. When all three of those guys were together, Scotty, they generated 12 shot attempts for and only had 2 against. Their expected goal share in this game was 87%. They were generating a lot of offense for the Detroit Red Wings in this game, but again, not to bring it back down after hyping them up, inability to score again. But
no, but it's the story around the team so far is like, wow, they're finally getting opportunities at 5-on-5 and like all these positives, and then you look and they don't put the puck in the back of the net despite having all these opportunities
Right.
and despite the way that they've been playing. So yeah, it's gonna stick with them until proven otherwise, and I think that's kind of what we're all holding our breath waiting to see, is if it does turn a corner and water does, theoretically find its level, or if this is just what they are, a team that can create opportunities and get out on the break and be aggressive and get possession of the puck, but, can't finish.
Yeah, and you wonder, too. Obviously, JVR is the only guy on that line who did score, but it came on the power play, so not a 5-on-5 goal. That is the type of goal that you need a guy like him to score, but the big problem is Andrew Kopp, as good as he is defensively, just cannot score a goal to save his life. He's snake bitten to some extent, but I think the other extent is just doesn't have the natural finishing ability some of his teammates do, and they got to get a winger on there that can provide that offense. Berggren is just, he's playing fine. Like, I think he's been playing fine this season, and he's been clearly trying. He's been busting his butt. I've been praising that, but he just hasn't been able to find the back of the net, and that's what you need him to do. He needs to be your depth scoring, in all honesty. If he's going to be an undersized winger, he's going to have to be able to find the back of the net with shots, but I feel like he pretty frequently gets out-muscled along the boards, or his attempts to carry the puck into the blue line get kind of shut down. And it's not just, I'm not trying to put it all on him, but they got to mix and match some kind of line combo that's going to break through. They played great as a unit today in this one, but gosh, you got to get depth scoring from somewhere, and they just aren't getting it right now. Did Scotty, at all, just completely 180 pivoting off of that topic before we beat that dead horse? Have I mentioned Moritz Seider at all in this hockey game?
Yeah.
Okay, I know we talked a little bit off air beforehand. I couldn't remember if I've done my, daily Moritz Seider is such a monster, on the ice type.
Well, you did, you did in passing. I don't think you did the full, like, he was one of the best players on the ice, et cetera, but you did mention how impressive his performance was, yeah.
Yeah, he had 2 assists in this game, quietly on a 57-point pace now. He had 6 shot attempts. 3 of them found their way to the net. 7 blocked shots that he blocked, and just 1 hit, which is a little low for him, but that's all in 25 minutes of ice time, playing the toughest minutes on the team. Just another dominant performance from Moritz Seider. At every opportunity I can to praise him, I will always do, just because of the fact that Moritz Seider deserves more national recognition than he gets.
For sure. Yeah, no, he was certainly one of the best players on the ice for either team tonight.
Any final thoughts? Yeah, got anything else?
I don't think so, man. Yeah, I think every point we've made, we've just beaten to a pulp. So I don't even really want to bring anything else up. It's a lot of the big talking points of the year, kind of all in one game. So yeah, try to rebound, and we'll kind of talk about how they're able to do that, I'm sure, tomorrow. So we ball.
The TLDR played great game. Couldn't overcome their own mistakes, but if they play with that level of energy most nights, they'll win those games. You agree with that? You think that's a fair summation?
Yeah, I think it's pretty long for a TLDR, but yeah.
TLDW? I mean, it's a third. I summarized a 30-minute episode in about a minute. I think that's still pretty good for a TLDW.
Sure, man.
All right. We'll be back in a new episode tomorrow. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.